welcome to Gail's Garden Herbs and More. Okay, what do you think? Got it all stacked up. Looks a little better. I'm going to be talking today about little garden alcoves, or you could say little garden rooms or areas. This is just before I come into my garden, and right on the other side is part of my garden. And sometimes it makes it really hard to make it pleasant looking, because right through the fence you see the wood everywhere, but maybe it'll be a little better with it all stacked. Okay, coming into this one area from my greenhouse, sometimes it's not this is all kind of, I guess, one little area. I've got my, when you first walk up, I had cleared out this area and the weeds and tried to make it pleasant as you walk in. And you know, you can do a lot of things. You might think about when you were in school and art classes you took. Like sometimes, let me show you this. Sometimes you'll want something that's going to kind of be a focal point and draw the vision, like maybe the chicken out front and the little areas that you have. Another thing that you want to think about, let's go over here, is, let me pull my chair back out, and I'm going to talk about this chair in a minute. If you have a bigger structure, kind of like my little horseshoe here, and I am still working on all of this, but I have been doing quite a bit of work. But anyway, you want to try to keep it somewhat equal when you have two different sides to it. Like I've got the two long terracotta things that I put there, and then I put a little bit darker orange pot here. And the only other orange pot I had was a little bit shorter than that one. That one comes up almost to the lip of the long terracotta. So I just put a little wood round underneath that pot to raise it up so it's about the same height. That'll kind of even it a little bit. The plants that I have in there, I used to have some taller ones here, but those came out. And so now it's a little lopsided because I'm going to have some tall plants here and not over here. Now, a little ways back, I do have some lilies planted, but they're a little bit further back. So after I've got a few pieces of garlic that just kind of got stuck in there. Once I harvest them, I may plant a little bit taller one here in front of the thyme that I planted in the back. We'll see what happens, but I'm trying to keep it somewhat equal from side to side, although it may be different plants, but maybe if they're somewhat the same height, it's a little more pleasant to look at. It's not the right time of year, but in the back, that's mostly all bee balm, which is the same height all the way around there. And there may be a few other little plants in front that come back from last year. We'll see what happens on that. But just when you're thinking about it, little areas, like in art class, they will tell you, talk about the balance in your picture and stuff. And it's kind of like that. Or you could think about interior decorating. This is kind of like exterior decorating. Same thing. You're still going to have the focal points, the balance, different things like that. But kind of go by your gut feeling and what looks good. When you walk up, does it look good? And that's why sometimes I'll change. Sometimes I just want to change, but a lot of times I'll put something in a certain way, and then I'll come back and say, no, it just doesn't hit me. I'm going to move that around. Now, another thing is, let's walk down here for a minute. I've been working on this area. Before I get to that, I'll explain what's going on here. My son leveled a small area here for this stump that he put in here, and then nailed on a board to put my pot, which I love because I love the height of it. It's much easier to work in and stuff. But right behind here, it just drops off down in kind of a dip. And if it rains real hard, it can fill up. We'll see what happens. I did raise that smaller pot and put it on some small terracotta pots to lift it up. You want to be thinking about maybe different height setting. You don't need to have just a straight line of pots. You can. It may be the only thing you can do as long as you have some pots, but I'm just giving you some ideas. It's nice if you have different sized pots and maybe some different colored pots, not all the same color. Some of these don't have anything in them. Some have stuff that hasn't leafed out yet. Some are just kind of half leafed. It's just that time of year. It'll look a lot better in the summer. That's a little fig tree there. And when that leaves out and all this stuff together, I think it's going to really look nice. And you want to think about maybe trimming off the edges. I put a bunch of black plastic down. What might look good is some wood chips or wood shavings or something scattered around over the top, but I don't have that right now, so it'll just have to be black plastic. I did move some rocks and put like an edging to it with the rocks to make it look better that way. I also moved this because it was, let me bring you over here, it was against that fence there and you didn't even really notice it. So I went ahead and moved it over here, and I may move it again. I'm not sure that's where I want to keep it. But for now, I put it there. I still have the rock edging, though, along the black edge of the black plastic. Now, another thing, you don't always have to have a whole big area, or actually a whole room. There might just be little spots, like in front of this tree. So I just put some of my little collection of frogs there, and that kind of a thing. It's kind of cute. Like I was saying, I have the woodlot on that side. It looks a little better stacked, but it'll never really look great on that side. But I'm still working on this area here, trying to put some plastic down to cut back the weeds. I may be able to hook up some water to her and then have something down here to catch the water. I'm still thinking and working on all of that. But what I wanted to talk to you about too, and now this one is kind of a little room here, a little alcove room. It's been leveled. There was a gal, I gave her some money to get some truck parts to get her truck working. And so she did some work for me. And she leveled that, and then there's a step down here, and it's leveled in here too. And underneath the weed cloth, there's actually some boards where you step down into this area. The oak tree has shed its leaves this fall, so it's kind of full of leaves right now, which really don't look too bad over the black plastic, so I'll just leave it for now. But the ground since last year has shifted, and one thing about green stalks is they need to be level for the watering system inside to work right. I put a rock underneath to try to level it a little more, but I'm having a little bit of problem with that. I'm going to be moving some of this stuff here too. I had to get it out of the way. But, yeah, I'm still working too on here because I've been changing some things from the way it was. But just talking about some things to give you an idea. Now, another thing I did, I had a bunch of totes that were really kind of ugly. So I moved them from all up here. Like I said, I'm not done over there yet. And I brought them all up here, and they have their own little area. Maybe a bunch of uglies together won't look so bad. I'm supposed to be getting some dirt brought in, I'm hoping, maybe this weekend. And then I can fill them up and get some planting in there. Maybe I'm kind of thinking about potatoes. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm still, like I said, I'm in the middle of working on all this, but I just wanted to share with you some of what I'm doing. It keeps changing over the last 2 weeks. It's changed a lot. Now I have an in-ground garden on the other end because there's nothing much there right now. I do have olive bins scattered around too. But those areas, especially down on this far end down here, I've not done a whole lot with. Okay, this is a very small area, but the only place that I have an in-ground garden. There's a few things that just don't grow well in pots. They do much better in the ground, and that's, well, for an example, is like corn and okra. I do have a few small things planted around the edge, but I do want to try again the corn and okra. The squirrels got it all the last time I did that, but I think I'm going to try again this year. I really miss my good fresh. It's hard to find organic corn, and look what I just found. Way over here on the end, stinging nettle. Ooh, that's yummy stuff. I'll have to go get my basket and maybe harvest some of it for some fresh stuff tomorrow maybe. Over there, and right in there, I've got some boysenberry vines. I transplanted them last fall from a pot because they weren't doing any good in the pot. So we'll see how they do this year. But there's so many areas here I need to work on. It just takes being me most of the time. I get my son to help me with some stuff, but Like, he's gone back to work right now, so it's slow going, but this is just an idea that you might want to do if you have to have pots and really can't do much of an in-ground garden, if any. You can do a lot of cool things with pots. Don't have to just be pots. It's like these olive bins. I took 4 of them when I first put them in here, and you can come through those green gates and come into to harvest from them too. But they're so old. They're just looking kind of shabby. They were shabby when I put them in, but I needed something to grow in, and they worked. They did the job. Now I'm trying to make things look pleasant because I love to spend a lot of time out in the garden. And when things grow up and they're full of growing things, it's not so bad. And if I have things around it or whatever. But sometimes I don't want to completely just sterilize the whole long strip, because then I might not find fun little things like that stinging nettle back there. But it is just a long strip mainly. In some places it's about 20 feet wide, and other places a little wider. But I like so that I have my path, and I've got to clean all these out, clean it out, and then put it back. So that could change somewhat too. But I like walking down my path and walking to maybe this little room here, and then maybe another little room over here. But back behind me is a little bit more wild. I've got an area here where at least the wood's stacked. It doesn't look quite so bad there, but I got to clean all this out, and I want to fix it up a little bit too, maybe. Like I said, I'm still working on this. I've got my raised beds. Those are really good to do too. I've got so much Bermuda grass around here that I laid weed barrier underneath and dumped dirt and have been growing in these raised beds, because, and even then, especially that far one, some of the Bermuda grass got in it, but it's easier to keep it out than directly in the ground. I tried it for a couple years directly in the ground out here, and I got some stuff, but it was just, the Bermuda grass was just overtaking and strangling everything. I have another area here kind of next to my raised beds, and I've been working on that. I wanted to do this area over here, but in the summertime, this is one of the hottest places in the yard. I did plant a couple of grapevines here. I'm hoping they'll grow up the fence and shade those row of blueberries there somewhat. Those are some, what are those called? Gerber daisies, I think. I got them repotted from a big pot that the sun just destroyed the plastic out there. They usually do well in hot. We'll see. I'm hoping they'll come back. I don't know. There's roots from that. We'll see what happens. They may not come back, and if not, I'll just have to plant some other flowers or something in there. But unless I put a some sort of covering, I don't know what I'll do with this area. But it is kind of another little room. It just, in the summer, it's so hot, I've got to put a shade over it. But just a few quick ideas on decorating your garden. Think of lots of, my shadow's in the way, but sorry about that. But think about what you have to decorate with. You don't always have to spend a lot of money. Those rocks came from a good friend's, some property. Actually, some of them didn't. Others I got from the bottom of a creek way back in the mountains. But yeah, when you're out and about, try to collect things that you might find even at yard sales, that you can decorate your garden with and fix it up, make it pleasant to be in. Then you want to be in it more. The more you're in your garden, the more, even if you can't do a lot of physical work, even if only 10, 15, 20 minutes a day while you're out there picking a few weeds and doing this and doing that, but you'll want to spend more time when you've got it. It's fun fixing it up, and then it's wonderful to bring a cup of hot tea in the morning and sit in the garden if it's not too cold. I'm having to come out in the middle of the day now. Because it's kind of cold, and I do come out in the mornings though, but it's hard to stay out here real long because it gets pretty cold in the mornings, but then it starts warming up real fast. But yeah, it just makes it really enjoyable. Not everybody can have an in-ground garden. I can't, except for that one little area, just the way all the rocks and the Bermuda grass and that. The reason I can have it down there is because I had dug out about 4 to 6 feet, probably, I don't know, it was deep. and then it ended up getting filled back in with manure and stuff. So, and I put a weed barrier down. It's still a little bit of a fight, but at least I can grow in there. And it hasn't been overtaken yet with the Bermuda grass. Not saying that it won't, though. But yeah, just some thoughts and ideas about building little areas, decorating your garden. And I hope you're enjoying this, that it gives you some ideas. I like sharing with you what I have. It's always changing around here. I'm always working on stuff, and I have a long ways to go. But anyway, I will let you all go, and we will catch you next time. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Thank you.